Alright, it's time to retrieve the AI pod. It has the boss's voice. I gotta say, that hand of Jehuti looks really cool. It's a pretty cool looking arm. Alright, so let's go ahead and get right into it. It's a crucial side ops, one of the necessary to move the story along, I guess. Let's go ahead and do it.
Please select a landing zone.
You could land right in there, but it's a hot zone.
Heading to Afghanistan.
Huh. Wonder what butter we want with this. Let me see if she has her. The other thing isn't developed yet. I think we might take D-Walker. Might take D-Walker to do this. Commence missions, like vehicle character. I think this is good. We'll take D-Walker.
Deploying.
I'm sure there's gonna be other Walker gears here, because this is this was Huey's research place. That was not fun to get into the first time I did it. Hopefully it'll go a little bit smoother now that we have better equipment and all that and know the place. Boss's AI pod. I will never forget that line from Peace Walker. The most memorable line in Peace Walker that comes from Huey. It wasn't using its head. It was using its heart. Cheesiest thing ever. It's such a silly thing.
Be careful down there, boss.
Alright. There's a sandstorm approaching. That might be good for us, actually.
Marker placed.
Might be good for us. Just wish you could jump. Go up here. Sandstorm will could help us a lot here. Let's see. Yes, we're just going right by, guys.
Enemy presence detected. The map has been updated.
Oh boy, there's a rock wall here. I don't know how to get around it.
The weather will clear shortly.
Oh, I don't want to get in it. I want to get out of it. Alright, we're pretty close to it here. We made it pretty far in because of the sandstorm.
Analysis complete.
Да ну, я серьезно. Ребята не раз видели, как наши солдаты
They're talking about being lifted up by balloons.
а потом не подлетает вертолет. За этим точно стоят не душманы.
That's funny.
Analysis complete.
Don't know how that guy even saw me, but okay. Might be good to just interrogate this guy. Not even here, so. Almost to my destination. Should probably just avoid it. Alright, the truck stopped up here, so I don't know if we're gonna have trouble.
Analysis complete.
Guy looking this way. Look at there's all these A+ guys. I wonder. You know what? Let's just get a throw a decoy out there. Actually, I wanted to throw it way further than that.
You're pretty good. You're pretty good.
They responded to this one instead. Stupid thing.
You're pretty good.
They didn't respond to the other one. Okay, now they see it. Now they see it. I believe I have to get into it from this side. Outside the armored Djibouti.
The map has been updated.
Any good?
Analysis complete.
It's really good. I don't know if I should risk it though. Alright, nobody saw. Those things are quick now, man. Really quick.
You gotta extract him.
Oh man, I can hear her talking. Okay, got this guy.
The map has been updated. Analysis complete.
We'll take him anyway. Alright, we made it in. If there's any guards in here, though.
He's coming too. Roger that.
And with the Colonel's money, I will achieve it. Just as I once created the coma.
You have arrived at your destination.
Kill me now.
Alright, let's see if we can do this. We made it here quite easily. Certainly was a hell of a lot smoother than the first time. What the hell? We're rocketing it out of here? What the heck? Well, Sure, that didn't alert anybody.
AI pod launch confirmed. We'll pick it up. I wonder what kind of secrets are buried in it. I'll let you know if we learn something.
Strangelove's memento, a key item.
Remember how the man on fire was crushed by Sahelanthropus?
Extraction
Well, the Soviets
arrived at
recovered his
Motivase.
body.
What?
Could he really be dead? Boss, head for Yaha Ogu's supply outpost and secure the man on fire's body.
What? They
If
found his
Soulface
body?
was right, and a thirst for revenge can turn a man into a demon and keep the dead alive. And this man on fire who's been coming after us ever since you woke up, well, that just might be what's left of our old friend Volgan.
Volgan? So it is it might be Volgan? It certainly looked like it could have been him, but I didn't expect Volgan, you know? Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a possibility, but like, why would it be Volgan, of all people? Huh. Well, this is interesting. We gotta get the hell out of here now, though. And I forgot we had cassette tapes to listen to. Got tons of cassette tapes to listen to. Anyway. I actually think we can just return to the ACC, can't we? Let's see. Because it was a side op, so... Let's see, where's the mission list? Yeah, so secure. Okay, so we already did this. We can just return to ACC now. All right, return to ACC. We'll go ahead and listen to those tapes that we got, though. We got like 4 million of them to listen to.
Extraction arrived at Mother Base.
Alright, cassette time. Dear Lord, we got 10 of them. Alright, so it's not too many. It's not too many. The man on fire. What happened to the man on fire? Let's listen to that one first.
You mentioned that the man on fire was crushed under Sahelanthropus in its hangar.
Yeah. He was caught under the wheels of its transport platform.
But his body wasn't found.
What?
We searched the area the moment we arrived, but there was no trace of him.
I wasn't hallucinating.
I know. I trust you on that. That means someone must have taken the body. But when I got there, everything was still as it was. Even Skullface hadn't been touched. I can't see a reason to sneak into a place like that and drag out the biggest, heaviest guy there.
What are you getting at?
The only option left is... he got up and walked away.
That platform ran him over.
Just ran him over.
You're saying that's not enough?
I don't want to believe it, but...
Dude, did you not see the
maybe
beginning of the game?
He shrugs off bullets, even rocket strikes. There's no reason to think that would finish him. It seems ridiculous, but I'll start gathering eyewitness accounts just in case.
If you dig up anything concrete, I want to know.
You'll be the first, if I dig anything up. But I hope to hell I don't.
No kidding.
Huh. Alright. So we got all these left. Metallic Archaea.
This is yellow cake that Cipher was having the PFs transport. Before we met you, the boss recovered it from a truck crossing the savannah. Are there metallic archaea inside it?
Yes, the archaea metabolize uranium-235 to subsist. They must be stored inside yellow cake, or they cannot survive.
So those biological traces we took for impurities were actually the real cargo?
Of course, they are deactivated, so they do not trigger a sudden enrichment. They are like baker's yeast. Yet,
Baker's
they
yeast.
do gradually enrich the uranium as they feed. I imagine you detected weapons-grade traces.
Yeah, we did.
And the malachite that was loaded on the truck had traces of uranium in it too. So that's the flower, huh? Skullface was gonna sell do-it-yourself nuke kits. The uranium enriching archaea complete with a user's manual. And the ores with the uranium could be sourced by the client or provided by Cipher.
Even the trace amounts buried in common ores can be enriched to weapons-grade uranium by the metallic archaea. Proving that must have been the most important factor of the trials. That and the ability to successfully prevent detonation.
So if the amounts of uranium in the ores are low enough, they can get past any inspection. And you only need a tiny amount of the archaea to act as the yeast. No great challenge to smuggle that either. The first step towards saturating the world with nukes.
His plan. That was not my intention. My only goal in developing the metallic archaea was to save the Dene.
What made you think a tool for creating undetectable nuclear
Oh my god, a
weapons would
3-minute
save your
one.
people?
4 minute almost.
After 70 years, the Dene reclaimed the Navajo nation from which we were banished. We bore all the hardships of poverty, but we were proud to live off the land we called our own. But in the moment the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, everything changed.
I don't get it.
The nuclear arms race between the US and the Soviet Union began with the end of the Second World War. Suddenly, there was a massive demand for uranium. And it was our ill fortune that the ground beneath the Navajo Nation was rich with uranium ore. The Black Ana government set up mine after mine, and many of the Dene worked them, never informed of any danger. Every day, they went to work with no protection. The slag was simply piled out in the open. When rain fell, uranium traces left behind would seep out, and when the ground dried, it was blown about as dust. Land and water were contaminated, irradiated. Many of us became sick and died. That pain lives on to this day.
I had no idea.
Wanting more than anything to revive the land my forebears left to me, I was delighted upon discovering microbes that eat uranium. If they could be domesticated, I believed we could rid our land of uranium.
Were you successful?
No. The research called for funding on a colossal scale. But nobody was willing to invest with no prospect of a return.
And that's when Skullface showed up.
Correct. I can save you and your people. We share the same will. That is what he said to me. And I believed him. Black Ana forced me to abandon my uranium cleanup work and focus on nuclear weapons. And he held all the Dene hostage. Today, the uranium mines within the reservation are finally closing down. It is simply less expensive now to source uranium overseas.
New victims, different places.
But uranium is a tactical resource. To rely on a foreign country for it is a difficult decision to make. And he was in the perfect place to influence that decision.
He could have condemned your people to the mines forever.
The contamination comes not only from uranium. The fallout from the Nevada nuclear tests also settled on our lands. As if our fortune were not already bad enough, we are also downwinders. To save the Dene, I must complete my original research.
More code darker stuff. He talks so freaking slow. Oh my god.
The one that covers the parasite that lives on the surface of the skull's bodies is what gives them their power, similar to my children who live in my skin. I modified the parasites I isolated from the body of that old man, differentiating them with various abilities. One that can blend perfectly into its surroundings by exposing the pigments in its cells at will. Another that, by harboring multiple species of metallic archaea, can oxidize and reduce metal. Isolating the one that covers and transplanting it into an artificial medium should provide the same abilities as the skulls, but they can only subsist within a human body. Once transplanted into the medium, they will eventually die. Another thing, the weakness of the one that covers is desiccation. Their surface moisture loss is greater than ours. The reason they give off mist is to alleviate this by releasing the salts inside them as microparticles. Water vapor condenses around them, appearing as mist. But this dries out the atmosphere until they cannot even produce mist. And once their supply of water from the host runs out, the parasites are in danger. They, along with their host, enter a form of suspended animation. However, a similar effect occurs if they come into contact with a large amount of water. Rain, for instance. The one that covers will temporarily abandon other processes in his eagerness to absorb the water. Make the weather
So,
your ally.
if you make it, if you cause it to rain, then I guess maybe it stuns them for a while because they stop moving. I don't know. That's an interesting thing to remember, though. Rain. Oh boy, more of these.
There's something I've been wondering. Why are you called Code Talker? During World War II, the U.S. military used the languages of different tribes, including the Navajo, as codes, right? I know the term Code Talker was used to mean people sent to the battlefield to speak in those codes. Were you one of them?
Our mother tongue was indeed used for war, but I did not go. I was already over the conscription age. However, I was made to help craft the codes that were spoken. So in a wider sense, you could call me a code talker for that. Navajo is a complex language, and virtually no one outside the US speaks it. They must have thought it was the perfect language to use as a code.
Yeah, in the end, the Japanese never cracked it. The Cipher is king in information warfare.
Of course, they didn't simply speak in Navajo. They created substitutions for words according to a code book, and then translated those into our language. Young Dene was sent to the front lines of the Pacific Theater as code talkers. To fight is an honor for the Dene. They were the pride of our people. But I cannot say this history brings me joy. Words are alive. When they are spoken, life is breathed into them. They become a part of the listener. Our words were transformed into lifeless ciphers and used for war. This, after the Black Ana spent generations suppressing the language.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I guess we shouldn't be calling you Code Talker, huh?
No, I do not mind. The reason Skullface called me Code Talker was because I also am responsible for coding language into the vocal cord parasites. I am the same as those young warriors, used for a cipher's sake. I must never forget that. The name, Code Talker, is a lesson carved into my being.
You said Skullface ordered you to weaponize the vocal cord parasites. But you also said he wasn't the reason.
And he wasn't. I was seduced by the parasites.
Seduced by the parasites, okay.
How? You mean from your curiosity as a scientist?
That I cannot deny. But there is more to it. The story goes back to the 19th century, to my earliest memory. One day, a man from the government visited our Hogan, our home. I cried as he yanked me from my mother's arms and took me away to an Indian boarding school. From that day forward, I became George. This was the name my teacher gave me. I was forced to give up my Diné name, forbidden from speaking anything but English. If we dared utter a word of filthy Navajo, the teacher made us eat a bar of soap.
Yeah, that was the U.S. government's education policy for Native Americans.
Really great history.
To erase our words was like erasing our people. Their education was tantamount to ethnic cleansing. Over time, the overt persecution of our language stopped, but to this day, it continues to be eaten away by the lingua franca, that is English. Many of the Diné outside the reservations can speak nothing else, and it isn't just our language. Across the world, minority languages are being destroyed by dominant languages. Many are on the verge of extinction.
Enter the vocal cord parasites.
Yes, I began thinking that minority languages needed some sort of deterrent against dominant languages. In order that their peoples and cultures would survive. It was then that I came across literature at the Foundation claiming that man acquired language thanks to a type of parasite, one that distinguishes between languages as a precursor to reproduction. If I could just resurrect it, make it more pathogenic, I would have my deterrent against English. But I failed to hide that aim from Skullface. He noticed. Yes, I wanted to retaliate against the English language, though never did I intend to actually use it as he'd planned. You know how the story ends. I was forced to study how to make the parasites compatible with all the world's languages.
It didn't have a space between world's languages
but
there.
English.
However, he in fact secretly
An
isolated
error
an
in the
English strain.
I will
subtitles.
not be held prisoner by the man's phantom. The English strain must not be allowed to exist either.
So you know when the thing is there's two things left technically, isn't there? Because Eli has one and Skullface said another one that was close to you. So there's actually two strains, two of the vials are not destroyed. I don't know, let's see. Anyway, we're almost done here. Finally, Skullface 9 years ago.
Hewitt's dug up some interesting facts about our skull-faced friend. 9 years ago, he was exiled to South Africa, stripped of political power. The upshot's that he ceased being a serious threat, in Cipher's eyes anyway. They eased up on surveillance, giving him an opening to establish his own military unit, one that answered to his will alone. Those men likely had no idea their orders were coming from Skullface. They probably didn't even know the organization was a part of Cipher at all. Anyway, it was in South Africa where he found renewed interest in parasites. And when he discovered the vocal cord parasites, he began to make his plan. Wipe the English language out of existence. Free the world, not by taking men's lives, but by taking their tongues. In his eyes, the greatest symbiotic parasite the world's ever known isn't microbial. It's linguistic. Words are what keeps civilization, our world, alive.
There was something Skullface said. America is made up of many peoples, but those peoples never mix. Quite so. One nation, home to hundreds of different ethnic groups, many of whom stick to their respective living areas, little colonies, not interacting with other groups, going out of their way to avoid one another, their land, organizations, relationships. Thus, the United States of America is no melting pot. It is more of a salad bowl. It is not made up from one people, but for its minorities to function in society, a common ground is needed. Language. Even if the country is not one. No, because it's not one, a lingua franca is necessary. English. American hegemonism was born from the illusion that English could unite diverse ethnicities. In taking in people from around the globe, America became a microcosm of it. Now the boundaries between it and the rest of the world have become blurred. However different our neighbors may be, English enables us to create symbiotic relationships with each other. If English can bring unacquainted neighbors together in America, this should hold true for the world. This salad bowl that is the world can also become one.
Alright, the final batch of tapes. No, although we still have this. This is the ultimate. We might have to... It's gonna be too good.
A ruler's greatest wealth is not money or land. It is the number of individuals under his control. Subjects who work, consume, are there to be used as pawns in war. For a capitalist ruler, his people's power becomes his power. You are the same. With your diamond dogs, you spin it with your speeches. But what you're doing is bringing as much talent as you can into your little domain. Every person another feather in your cap. Yes. Since ancient times, every civilization's ruler has had the same idea. When people unite under one will, they become stronger than the sum of their parts. And the one will is the ruler's will. And what do rulers use to bring people together? Language. In the Old Testament, it is written that only one language was spoken in Eden. A shared tongue that united all of humanity. Mankind eventually grew aware of its power and harnessed that strength to build a tower to the heavens. The mighty Tower of Babel. This angered God, who splintered the language of man, and the tower was never completed. Languages emerged, and the earth was divided as men went their separate ways. Every age is the same. A ruler's first order of business, after conquering new land, is to force his tongue on its people. Ancient Rome, Napoleon, and now Zero. English is wreaking havoc around the world right now. The British Empire tilled the land with war as its hoe, then began planting the seed that is English. Eventually, American capitalism became the new instrument. To play its game of wealth, you only had to abide by one rule: English. By exploiting people's desires, English has become a leash that people gladly wear around their necks, it would seem.
Alright, I think we're gonna save the hamburgers of Kazuhira Miller because this is supposed to be pretty funny. So we're gonna do that in a bit. Okay? We'll come back. Come back, and we got some other stuff that we need to do anyway. Apparently there's another side. That's right, we gotta just secure the remains of the man on fire and that kind of stuff, so we'll see.